The room is silent, save for the rustle of papers and the anxious tapping of a shoe. It's late October 1929, and the Wall Street trading floor is a frenzy of desperation. Brokers shout into telephones, their voices cracking with panic. The stock market, once a symbol of unending prosperity, crumbles before their eyes. What could possibly have led to this financial apocalypse, and what will it mean for the world? In the aftermath of the Wall Street crash, the world stands on the precipice of a new era. It's mid-November 1929, and a fragile calm settles over the markets. Investors, still reeling, cling to the hope of recovery. For a brief period, the numbers seem to stabilize, a deceptive lull that belies the storm brewing beneath the surface. Ordinary people, unaware of the complexities of high finance, feel the tremors in their daily lives. Unemployment begins its relentless march upward, casting long shadows over dinner tables across America. The once bustling factories fall silent, machines idle and workers sent home. The air thickens with uncertainty. The economy, once a roaring engine of prosperity, now sputters and stalls. The Federal Reserve, paralyzed, fails to inject the much-needed liquidity into the system. Banks, underregulated and overextended, teeter on the brink. The very foundations of economic stability begin to crack. The world watches, breath held, as the fragile piece of recovery teeters on the edge. But this calm is about to shatter. In the quiet corridors of power, decisions are made that will echo through history. It's 1930, and the Great Contraction tightens its grip on the economy. The Federal Reserve, hesitant and uncertain, makes a fateful choice. It opts for inaction, failing to provide the liquidity the banking system desperately needs. This decision, or lack thereof, sets the stage for a cascade of failures. Banks across the nation, already vulnerable, begin to collapse under the weight of their own misjudgments. The lack of regulation, once seen as a boon for growth, now reveals itself as a glaring weakness. As one institution falls, it triggers a domino effect, sending shockwaves through the financial sector. The numbers are staggering, with bank failures mounting and confidence plummeting. Amidst this turmoil, the American public faces harsh realities. Unemployment surges, leaving millions without work. Families, once secure, now grapple with poverty. The streets fill with the unemployed, searching for jobs that no longer exist. The economy contracts further as consumption and investment dry up, creating a vicious cycle of decline. Globally, the situation mirrors America's woes. Trade grinds to a halt as nations turn inward, erecting barriers in a desperate bid for self-preservation. The collapse in global commerce deepens the crisis, erasing any hope of a quick recovery. As the world sinks deeper into economic despair, a new threat emerges on the horizon, one that will challenge the very fabric of society. It's 1931, and the air is thick with tension. The Federal Reserve's inaction has left the economy gasping for air. Banks, once the pillars of financial stability, crumble one by one. In total, 9,000 banks fail, leaving a trail of devastation in their wake. The loss of $550 million in bank deposits sends shockwaves through the nation, shaking the confidence of even the most steadfast citizens. As banks fall, the real economy begins to unravel. The U.S. GDP contracts by 30%, a staggering decline that leaves factories silent and workers idle. Unemployment skyrockets, leaping from about 3% to nearly 25%. The streets are filled with the desperate and jobless, their hopes dashed by an economy that seems to have turned its back on them. Internationally, the situation is no better. Global trade, once a vibrant artery of economic growth, collapses by more than 50%. Nations, gripped by fear, erect trade barriers, each hoping to protect its own interests. American exports plummet from $2 billion to $7 billion, a catastrophic fall that echoes across the globe. Deflation tightens its grip, with prices dropping nearly 10%. The cost of crops falls by up to 60%, devastating farmers who can no longer make ends meet. The cycle of decline feeds on itself, as reduced consumption and investment lead to further contractions in employment and production. The world is caught in a downward spiral, with no clear path to recovery. As 1932 dawns, the Great Depression shows no signs of abating. The desperation grows, and with it, the seeds of a new, more dangerous threat begin to take root. In the dim offices of Wall Street, the year 1932 arrives with little fanfare. The numbers paint a grim picture. Worldwide GDP has declined by 15%, and real output in the United States has plummeted by 30%. The figures are relentless, each one a reminder of the economic devastation that grips the globe. Inside the banks that remain, the atmosphere is one of quiet despair. With 9,000 banks already collapsed, those still standing face a precarious future. Confidence in the financial system is shattered, with the loss of $550 million in bank deposits haunting every transaction. The Federal Reserve, criticized for its inaction, becomes a symbol of missed opportunities and unfulfilled promises. On the streets, the human toll is visible. Unemployment reaches a staggering 25%, leaving 1 in 4 Americans without work. In some countries, the situation is even worse, with unemployment rates climbing to 33%. The once bustling factories now stand silent, and the lines at soup kitchens grow longer each day. The deflation rate nears 10%, squeezing the life out of an already struggling economy. Internationally, the collapse of trade continues to reverberate. American exports, once a cornerstone of economic strength, have shrunk dramatically. The decline in global commerce is more than a statistic. It's a daily reality that affects millions. Countries turn inward, raising tariffs and hoping to shield their economies from further harm. The landscape is bleak, yet amidst the despair, whispers of a new threat begin to circulate. What emerges next will redefine not just economies, but the world itself. The Great Depression wasn't just an economic crisis. It was a lesson in the fragility of interconnected systems. The initial crash triggered a cascade of failures. Banks, businesses, and entire industries crumbled under the weight of collapsing confidence and liquidity. The Federal Reserve's inability to act decisively highlighted the dangers of insufficient oversight and response. Internationally, trade barriers erected in panic only deepened the global spiral. The human cost was staggering, with unemployment and poverty reaching unprecedented levels. This era demonstrated the catastrophic potential of unchecked market speculation and the essential role of coordinated economic policy. As nations struggled to recover, the seeds of future conflict were sown, setting the stage for a world forever altered. The Great Depression began with a crash and unfolded into a relentless economic storm. It was a time when the very fabric of society unraveled under the weight of financial collapse. Banks failed, trade halted, and millions found themselves in poverty. The lessons were harsh and enduring, highlighting the peril of unregulated markets and the importance of proactive economic policies. As the world emerged from the shadows, it faced a new reality forever shaped by the past. This was a crisis that taught the world how an economy breaks. Thank you for watching.